Welcome to the Simplify Your Life podcast. It's Coach Simona, and I'm glad you decided to tune in. Hey everyone! In today's podcast episode, we're going to talk about how to be more patient and calm. And I'm going to share with you 5 tips on how to practice patience so that you can not only improve your relationships with others, but also your relationship with yourself. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Simona, certified life coach and author of the book 111 Ways to Simplify Your Life. I make weekly podcast episodes on personal development, so if that's something that you're interested in, make sure to subscribe. My first tip is to master the power of introspective thinking. What do I mean by this? Well, if you want to practice patience, you need to first become aware of all the moments you're being impatient and realize why this is happening in the first place. Sometimes we get impatient because we're stressed about something, we have anxiety, or someone in our environment is doing something that's triggering us to react. No matter what the reason is, I'm going to give you a quick exercise that you can apply anytime you catch yourself being impatient. And that is to ask yourself 3 to 5 times the question, why? Let me explain. When you want to become more self-aware and shed light on a particular problem, which in this case is being impatient, you can ask yourself introspective questions to get to the root of the problem so that you can solve it on a deeper level. When we ask other people the question why, it often puts them in a defensive position because it's a very intimate question that reveals our motives, desires, and needs. And not everyone wants to be in such a vulnerable position. That's why when you ask yourself why, you're going to peel the surface layers of resistance and get to the real issue. Let's say you feel impatient about one of your goals. You're almost there. You know that you need to work a bit harder, and it's just around the corner. But for now, you're 90% there, and the last 10% are excruciatingly painful to endure. The first why question will highly likely get you a surface level answer. For example, if you ask yourself, why do I feel impatient? You may say something like, because I want it to happen faster. Then you can ask again, okay, but why do I want it to happen faster? Because I feel nervous about something sabotaging it. Why do I feel nervous about something sabotaging my goal? Because I don't trust others. Why don't I trust others? Because I don't trust myself. So in this case, feeling impatient about this goal may be linked to lack of self-trust. If you don't trust yourself that you're going to execute on the last 10%, or that you won't be able to protect yourself if someone else tries to sabotage your success, it makes perfect sense to feel out of control. Lacking patience often has to do with us trying to micromanage things to feel more in control of the situation, which actually leads me to my second point on how to be more patient and calm. Accept the present moment for what it is. Radical acceptance is something I often talk about on this podcast because I think it's one of the most liberating mindset shifts you can adopt for yourself. Okay, but how do you accept the present moment for what it is? Especially if you're nervous, impatient, or stressed out right now. By realizing that the present moment is actually the only moment that really exists right now. You may have stories about the past or worries about the future, but none of them matter right here, right now. They're just stories in your mind. They're not your reality at this very moment. All you have is this particular situation that you can choose to resist or accept. If you keep resisting it, you're going to keep refueling the same feeling of lack of control, which in turn will make you feel even more impatient. One easy way to accept the present moment is to remember to look around you. You can think of a mantra to bring yourself back to the present moment whenever you feel disconnected, such as, I'm here, I am safe. You can also look around you, notice where you are, and pay attention to any sounds, sensations, or smells. Anything that can bring you out of your head and into your body. I've actually done a podcast episode on this topic, so if you're interested in exploring it further, check out episode 102 next. I will leave a link below. My next tip on how to practice patience is to count to 10 before reacting. When you're in the heat of the moment and emotions are running high, you might say something that could offend the other person or react in a way that you might regret later. So the easiest way to avoid that is to take a few deep breaths, count to 10, and then react. By doing that, you're buying yourself some time. and showing yourself that you can be trusted. Staying still, pausing before reacting, and assessing the situation objectively will help you react in a healthier way. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. Counting to 10 may seem extremely hard at first, especially if you want to react to people immediately. Otherwise, your stress levels go through the roof. But I'm telling you, this has helped me so much, and I highly recommend it to anyone who wants to become more patient and calm. Tip number 4 on how to practice patience is to be gentle with yourself. In the past few years, I've realized that anytime I feel impatient about something or someone, it has to do with repressing my shadow self. If you're new to the term shadow self, it was coined by Carl Jung, the founder of analytical psychology, who defines the shadow self as an archetype that forms part of the unconscious mind and is composed of repressed ideas, impulses, weaknesses, and fears. In other words, your shadow self is that dark part of yourself that you don't really want to admit exists and you don't want to associate yourself with. When you're impatient with your partner, for example, it may be because deep down you're not really patient with yourself. Maybe a part of you doesn't like it when you binge Netflix on the weekends and feels guilty that you're not working. Or that part of you that pushes you too hard when you're on the verge of a burnout, just because you prioritize work over your well-being. Being gentle with yourself means giving yourself grace and kindness, and accepting that at the end of the day, you're only human, and you're doing the best that you can, and that is more than enough. It means loving yourself for exactly who you are right here, right now, without trying to change it. If self-love is something that you're struggling with, and you want a step-by-step system that will show you exactly how to love yourself unconditionally, check out the Self-Love Toolkit. It's my proven framework with over 500 self-love tools, techniques, and exercises that will help you go from self-criticism and self-doubt to self-love and self-acceptance. If you want to learn more, just click the first link in the description box below or visit www.theselflovetoolkit.com. My next tip on how to be more patient and calm is to zoom out and see the big picture. Practicing patience is a sign of emotional maturity, resilience, and grit. It's not something that happens overnight, and it's definitely something that is going to require some work on your part. But I have found that zooming out of the current situation that's causing you to feel impatient can help you detach from it and have a better understanding of yourself and others. So how can you do that? One of the easiest techniques you can try is to imagine yourself 5 years from now. Would this thing that you're feeling so impatient about really matter? Will feeling anxious and stressed right now change the outcome? Pay attention to any thoughts or emotions that arise. You may start defending yourself or trying to rationalize your reactions because you don't want to admit how pointless it is to overthink this particular situation. Or you may notice that you subconsciously like getting into drama because it helps you process difficult emotions in a more manageable way. Whatever you get out of this exercise, the important takeaway is this. No matter how serious this thing that you're being impatient about really is, a stressful approach won't solve anything. So by zooming out and seeing the bigger picture, you will see how futile it is to try to exercise control over the situation. So why not just let it go? Now, if you want more help with that, I have a video on how to deal with anxious thoughts specifically, so that you can feel more calm and present. You can watch it on my YouTube channel at youtube.com/Coach Simona. I will also leave a link below. Thank you so much for listening. If you found this episode helpful, please like it. And subscribe to my channel if you don't want to miss out on my weekly podcast episodes. I'm sending you all my love, and I'll talk to you in the next one.